Welcome back to another episode here of the Washington Football Maniacs YouTube channel. I am Greg Sykes along with Brandon Scott, and we are talking about the first preseason game is finally under our belts here. Football is officially back, NFL football. And Brandon, I couldn't be more excited. It's a new era in Washington Commanders land here with Josh Harris, of course, officially taken over as new owner. He got to witness his first win as owner of the Washington Commanders. It was a little bit of a delay last night, of course, with all the rain. It was about an hour and some change before that they finally got to kick off. But once they did, we got entertained to a pretty decent game on both sides, and we'll get into all of that. But folks, just quickly, if you haven't already, if you're enjoying this channel, please make sure that you subscribe to this channel. And when you do, make sure you hit that notification bell because we don't always release these videos at the same exact time. We don't always release these videos on the same exact day. We're trying to get better on this. And I think as we head into the season, we will kind of get on to a regular schedule. But just make sure you have that notification bell selected there or checked or smashed or whatever we say in YouTube land, so you'll know when we come out with a new video. So with all that said, let's get into this. So Brandon, I have a lot of notes here from last night. Well, not a whole lot of notes, but a lot of good stuff here. I think the first thing that we want to talk about, certainly, and this was going to be a big question mark going into this season, the offensive line. Now, what I have in my notes certainly is I think the offensive line needs to gel. We saw that early on in the game. Sam Howell kind of running for his life, not really getting a lot of big running lanes going for Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. What are your thoughts on that offensive line?
Yeah, the offensive line. I I'm kind of with you. I'll say this is I think it's gonna take time for them to gel. Like you said, I think he's gonna be running for his life a lot this year. But I think that we could actually use that to our advantage. Maybe we need to look at more misdirection plays, more bootlegs. Definitely use that to our advantage. I mean, we know what the offensive line can and can't do. We have the mixed match between draft picks and Sam Cosmi, pickups from being cut from other teams and Charles Leno, and off free agent pickups and Wiley and Nick Gates. So it's going to take time for them to kind of find chemistry as an offensive line group. But I do think next year we do need to address it as far as a long-term fit, especially a left tackle. I think we definitely need to use maybe the first or the second round pick on a left tackle, and that's my humble opinion. But I think it's going to take time for them to find that chemistry. But like I said, if they can find ways to kind of use that to our advantage, more bootlegs, like I said, even in the running game, more misdirections, we can definitely use that to our advantage. But he is definitely going to be running. So that's what I noticed last night, especially with the safety. I think it just comes down to chemistry. That's a play where it's the first game out, like you said, new personnel on the offensive line. So I'm not too concerned yet, but then I'm not at a comfortable place where I think we're good long term in the offensive line. So we need work, we need chemistry, but this is the thing about the preseason. I'm not even a preseason guy. I hate preseason, but preseason has its advantages. Work out the kinks right now, get that chemistry now, and I think going forward, we're not going to be super trash, but we're definitely going to be learning on the go as far as the offensive line goes.
Sadiq Charles didn't play last night. That could have, had a little bit of a factor in it. But certainly when you have new guards, I think, you're kind of, returning player, new player, new player in the middle. Really, you have guys lining up next to you that are new players. And so you kind of, they're kind of like partners, right, on that offensive line. And you tend to start to, as you play with those guys, you start to understand their tendencies of, okay, I know that this guard is going to go out here and block this certain way. I know what path I need to take and all that stuff. Right now, they're still learning each other, and I think it's going to take a while. Um, you know, we said off camera, I really think that it may take several games, may take until the middle of the season before you really start to see that offensive line start to gel. But I think the offensive line is going to be fine. But yeah, I definitely agree with you. I really think that Sam Howell, God bless him, I think he's going to be on the run quite a bit at the beginning of the season. It's a good thing he's a very mobile quarterback. We saw it last night. He was able to make some plays with his legs. He's going to be doing a lot of that, which is kind of the good thing, with Eric Bieniemy bringing in kind of the KC offense into this as well. I don't ever really remember at the beginning Patrick Mahomes having that great of an offensive line. So, maybe this is what has to be done. Using some of the plays that was used for Patrick Mahomes in the beginning in order to kind of, while things are gelling up front, learning, okay, what plays that we can put in there, they're going to be kind of, plays that work against the aggressiveness of a defensive line because they're going to be coming after the running back. They're going to try to make this offense one dimensional because they know we're going to have a really stout running game. And this one thing that I noticed last night, we saw plays where, I mean, it looked like it was wide open. Like you're going to see either Antonio Gibson or Brian Robinson was going to break it open for a huge run, and then it closed up really quickly. And a lot of that can be contributed to the fact that the offensive line just didn't quite get the job done with the blocking. And I think that will come. I really think it will come, but it's going to take a little while. It's going to take a little bit more, honestly, than preseason. But certainly, that was going to be the one question mark going into this season was the offensive line. One question mark that we also were going to have that I think got answered last night. Our number one, our first round draft pick, Emmanuel Forbes. We were going on about, okay, this guy's too skinny. Is he going to be able to hold up? Is he going to tackle? The dude tackled last night. That fourth down goal line stance against Cleveland, and he stood up and he made that goal line stand. Was it on third down? Maybe it was on third down. I was thinking it was the fourth down, but regardless, he got in there and made that tackle and stopped Cleveland from getting into the end zone. So for me, automatically, because we know that he's going to be coming in and bringing the ball hawking style and all of this stuff. We expect him to be around the football and hopefully turn the football over and stuff like that. But we also want him to be able to tackle. Last night, he showed us, hey, I'm going to tackle. So what do you think about Emmanuel Forbes? Are you feeling a little bit better that dude's going to go in there and tough it out against some of these running backs?
Oh, I love it. I love it, man. His ball hawking, looking at tape when we drafted him, I got very excited about his ball hawking skills, but obviously looking at his frame, my biggest concern was just, him tackling, being the last line of defense against these running backs because there's some big boys in the league right now, running back. He showed that, look, he's got some dog in him. That's the thing I like about this defense. This defense has an identity. And if you look at training camp, the fact that they were so dominant to the point where they were taunting the offensive line. I love it, man. I love it. Not so much for the O-line, but I love it because this identity of defense, Jack Del Rio, there's been a lot of criticism with him, especially the last 2 years, but you gotta give credit. He's really, really put a face to this defense, man. This defense is ready to rock. I love the attitude. So, going back to Emmanuel Forbes, man, him being a dog, I'm very excited to see what he can do in Washington, D.C., man, because he's gonna be good. He's gonna be real good in DC. But I mean, if you look at the secondary period, man, looking at some names, Percy Butler, he impressed me.
Yes.
Obviously, Martin, he looked good last night. I mean, Forrest I think he's gonna have a good year. I mean, Cam Curl. I mean, the list goes on. This defense, obviously the weak point is linebacker. And I saw some stuff, at linebacker that I don't think we're going to be completely bad at linebacker. I think we're good. Looking at Barton, he had some moments last night. Jamin had some moments last night. So this defense, man, very well could be a top 10, top 5 defense because they already have that chip on the shoulder. And I think that has to go, a lot to do with the last couple of years where, they were putting together bets, how many sacks they're going to get with this front line. And, the injuries to Chase Young, they didn't perform the way they thought they were. So I think the defense is definitely coming into the season with a chip on the shoulder to let people know and put the league on notice that the Commanders have a legit top 10 defense. They're ready to roll. And then even if you look offensively, because I know we're talking defense real quick, but let me get on the offense real quick. The amount of weapons we have. And if you look at Sam Howell, yeah, the offensive line was a little shaky, but 9 for 12, 77 yards, 1 touchdown. So, and I get it, it's not a full showing, but Sam Howell's got that moxie, man. And that's the biggest thing that I saw from this but this quarterback group, period. I know we threw 2 picks, but even man, if you look at him and his presence in the pocket, he was very calm. He made the throws. So this quarterback group is not completely lost either. I think Sam Howell, I've seen enough to where I think he's going to have a really, really good year. Now, I get it, 1 career start, but I think he's got the moxie, man. He's got the presence. He's got the intangibles. I think, everybody puts so much weight into first-round picks and quarterbacks. But really, how many first-rounders do you know has really been successful as opposed to guys chosen later rounds? I mean, let's talk. Tom Brady was chosen when? I mean, one of the last picks in the draft. So, 5th-round pick, and people forget this about Sam Howell, man, is that, the year prior at University of North Carolina, he was considered a first-round pick. Now, he lost a bunch of receivers, including De'Ami Brown, to the NFL, and his offensive line was terrible at North Carolina. So he ran for his life his last year in college, but he still put up decent stats. This guy is a first-round talent who has an arm with nothing but weapons around him. So the biggest question mark, O-line, but man, this defense. Yeah, Emmanuel Forbes is definitely going to shine this year, man.
Yeah, and talking about the defense, you mentioned Chase Young. Now, of course, on the highlight reel, everybody's going to be seeing the big scramble from Deshaun Watson, but you saw Chase Young was there. He had a hand on Deshaun Watson. He was there. Last year, well, not last year, but the year before that, when Chase Young got hurt, he was not getting to the quarterback at all. Um, Last night, he was there. He probably a second earlier, he probably could have grabbed enough of Deshaun Watson to have gotten him down. So that right there, gave me hope that Chase Young, he's I won't completely say he's back, but he got in the backfield there. He was going to make his presence known. Now he did leave with a stinger, but I thought he played pretty well. He looked like he was a lot healthier than what he was certainly, coming back from that injury a year ago. So I got a lot of good things, just with that defense, Chase Young being back, and you're right. I mean, talking about the secondary as well, Percy Butler having that interception at the end of the first half. Um, just a lot of good stuff with that secondary. Um, Although I will say, though, maybe Cleveland's offense is going to be that good because they were gashing that defense. And, they were having their way with that defense, and that, especially in that first drive. But the defense did their job and stuffed them and kept them out of the end zone. And honestly, I guess at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you give up 99 yards, but you give up no scores. Then I'll take that any day of the week, right? But then you started mentioning the offense as well. Sam Howell, 9 of 12, 119 quarterback rating. Um, I thought Sam Howell played really well last night. Again, kind of running for his life because of that offensive line not quite being in sync yet. Was hitting his um, receivers really, really well. I mean, any incompletions looked like they were just drops. I thought he was playing a heck of a game. Um, he was really finding Cole Turner. That's the other guy I was really waiting to see. Cole Turner had a really good game last night. Caught several good catches last night. There was that one that they called back that said it was a catch and that his forward progress was stopped. Honestly, during the regular season, they would probably call that a takeaway. But other than that, Cole Turner had a really good game last night. It gives me a lot of hope. And honestly, it's starting to really make me think that Logan Thomas, man, his job might be in jeopardy, because Logan, I'm telling you, buddy, Cole Turner, if he keeps having this type of show out through the rest of the preseason, uh, you know, Cole Turner might wind up being the number one tight end. I mean, what are you thinking, Brandon?
Man. I think that Cole Turner might have arrived. I mean, if you look at last night, 4 receptions, 31 yards. I mean, he seems like the real deal as far as a catching tight end. I loved him coming out of Nevada because if you saw him in Nevada, man, he was learning how to block away from being a really, really good tight end. More of a receiver tight end, more like a Kyle Pitts. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, Logan Thomas, I still think they're going to retain him because I think that, as far as goal line, end zone, 2 tight end sets, you can still use him. Obviously John Bates he can catch, but more of a blocking tight end. So we could definitely still use him depending on the situation. But going forward and maybe this year taking over the number 1 tight end spot, I definitely agree that Cole Turner could be that guy because he's got some hands, man. I mean, he can definitely. I mean, he can catch the ball. So, last night, I'm gonna give props to the receivers. Period. Last night, the bobble catch for touchdown for Jahan Dotson. That was
Yes, that was
yes,
sweet.
sir.
That was
Oh
so
man,
sweet.
and then you had De'Ami Brown who caught a really tight
Yeah.
throw on the sideline throw, man. I mean, this receiver group, De'Ami Brown, the fact that he's a number 4 in the depth chart, he's going to have a bounce back year. That chemistry with Sam Howell shows, and he's going to, going to the all season after the season. They're looking at salary and maybe taking some salary off. Curtis Samuel, man, might be looking over his shoulder a little bit because you could see a breakout year for De'Ami Brown. But this receiver group looks nasty, man. I mean, this offense, just the weapons they have, looks nasty. And kind of going back to defense real quick before I go back to the offense. Yeah, you mentioned it. They got cooked a little bit, but the intensity's there. The goal line stand, I think, showed a lot, especially because the attitude comes with chemistry. The fact that they worked so hard in training camp, man, this defensive unit is ready to rock. But enough about the defense. Get back to offense. Still, this offense has some weapons. You could really say that the biggest question mark for the Washington Commanders this season is the O-line because every other position group is solid. You can say tight end, but I do think that Jamin Davis and Cody Barton are going to be enough for the tight end group to manage on defense. I think that they're both young and they're very intriguing, man, to see. I think that Jamin Davis he really shows out this year, but offensively, this offense is money. I mean, this receiver group should scare some defenses, but again, goes back to the same situation with O-line. But tight end, yeah, it's getting to the point where it's like Logan who, man. I hate to say it, but the injuries. Look, this is a performance-based league, man. Look, injuries happen, but he's getting older. Look, I'm 37. I'm about 30. I'm not gonna say that you get old getting to that point, but look, sports wise is ancient, man. Unfortunately. So he's getting up there with age, but Cole Turner, he might supplement, he might take over number 1. Now the question is when do they go into the regular season naming him the guy? Does he earn a job maybe in week 5? We shall see. But I think we've seen enough that there is some light in the tunnel at tight end going forward for the Commanders.
I totally agree. I think they'll slowly start to mix Cole Turner in. And I probably mentioned that several videos back, but and that was before I even saw anything from Cole Turner. But certainly after last night, I really do believe you're going to see a whole lot more from him. I agree with you. I think that Logan Thomas is probably still safe. I think we still need him. And I can see some packages, especially in the red zone goal line, where you line up in kind of a jumbo package with 2 tight ends. lined up, wide with Cole Turner on one side, Logan Thomas on the other. Maybe have John Bates in there as well. So we could definitely use that. We didn't really have enough tight ends last year to run those packages. So um, to have somebody like Cole Turner in there to be productive like Logan Thomas once was is very much needed. It just opens up that playbook even more for us. And also speaking of other weapons, of course, Jahan Dotson, he continues to solidify himself as a 1B receiver. Of course, Terry McLaurin's 1A, Jahan Dotson, my mind's 1B. And just like what you said, you know, Curtis Samuel may want to start, uh, looking behind him because I think De'Ami Brown, yeah, he made a heck of a catch last night. I would love to see De'Ami Brown make some noise and continue on with this team, especially knowing that he's got a quarterback that he has a repertoire with, that he's had history with. I think could really do well for De'Ami Brown's career. So I would love to see that. Um, but we will also have in my notes here, Byron Pringle made a great catch. Um, this was when Jacoby Brissett came in. Jacoby Brissett looked really good last night. He came in and he commanded that offense, um, moved the offense down the field at will, and then of course that scramble for a touchdown to cap off a great drive. I mean, Jacoby Brissett certainly, if anything happened with Sam Howell, that does kind of give you some confidence that you can plug him in. You're going to win a couple of games at least with Brissett. So it was really nice to see him come in and play really well. But Chris Rodriguez looked really good last night too. I was wanting to see him because, I didn't really know anything about Chris Rodriguez. So he came in and looked really good because, certainly now he was playing against probably second and third string defense at that point, but he looked crisp. He looked very, what's the word? Just uh, determined as far as once he got the football, he knew exactly where he was taking it. He was decisive in his runs. Um, so I liked what I saw of Chris Rodriguez. I think that if we continue to see this in the next couple of games in the preseason, you could actually see Chris Rodriguez spelling maybe Brian Robinson for a couple of plays. And of course, again, you have Antonio Gibson, who's going to become more of the gadget running back as well. But I definitely now know that the whole thing about why we were talking about Chris Rodriguez. He looked really good last night. I was very impressed by him. Um, any thoughts to add to Chris Rodriguez?
Yeah, I totally agree on that, man. I mean, I liked him coming out of college, man. He's a little on the shorter side, but he's very agile. I mean, he's a hard nosed runner, but he's a very agile runner too. So he definitely can throw some finesse in there with going through between the tackles. But I mean, really comes down to because you made a lot of good points, man. De'Ami Brown, Chris Rodriguez, and then getting on Brissett. Obviously, you threw the pick, but outside the pick, 6 for 10, 75 yards, the touchdown. He definitely has some wheels on him. I mean, so here's the thing: depth is a good thing until it's not. Depth can be an issue when it comes to contracts and stuff like that. But overall, the amount of depth we have on this team outside of the O line is very, very intriguing because, like you said, Rodriguez, he very well, I mean, was he third on the depth chart? I mean, he played well. So that shows that, in the event of injuries or, stuff of that matter, man, we have a guy who can come in and play some quality minutes, man. Looking at receiver, De'Ami Brown, fourth on the depth charts. Byron Pringle, number 5 or 6 in the depth chart. I mean, that's a heck of a catch. So, and, he's very familiar with Eric Bieniemy's system. So there's a lot of arrows pointing up for this franchise going forward. We finally got new ownership. We got Dan Snyder the heck up out of town finally. We got a competent offensive coordinator in Eric Bieniemy. And I know we're going to talk about it later, but obviously there's some stuff here and there between Bieniemy and Ron Rivera. They didn't kind of be on the same page, but that's actually something we're going to cover going forward. But overall, the arrows are pointing up because the offense should scare people. This receiving group, this running back group. I mean, the O-line is the only question. I'm trying to tell you, Greg. That's the only question because this defense has depth in itself. I mean, Percy Butler. I mean, the list goes on. This is the team that is very slept on, and we talked about it before. That I don't think New York's going to be as good as they were the last year. I don't think Dallas is going to be that good. I mean, the NFC overall has been weakened. You got a lot of situations like New Orleans where you have new quarterback, new system, new city. Atlanta, who's going to start there? Is Desmond Ritter the guy? I mean, there's questions anywhere in the NFC. Even Philadelphia, do they kind of take a step back? Because they have a very commanding team, but it's tough to go back going back to Super Bowl appearances, man. I mean, the Bills, we all know how that went. What was it, 4 years in a row? But I mean, the list goes on. The NFC is just not as dominant as the AFC. I hate to say that. I think this is a perfect year for the Commanders to be a sleeper team to maybe make a playoff run. Because I'm telling you right now, we have questions, yeah, but this is a solid team, man. I mean, Ron Rivera, you got a guy in Eric Bieniemy who has head coaching qualities to him that's going to help better Ron Rivera in his coaching. Del Rio, I think he takes a step forward as far as commanding this defense. This defense will be top 10, and his receivers group by midseason form is going to scare some defenses. So yeah, before we wrap it up, man, the O-line, yeah, it does kind of scare me, but this team to me has a fight in them, and they're going to fight in the NFC East this year, man. So you better beware. Philly, New York, Dallas, you come on in the FedEx, man. But like this fan base has new electricity to it, man. Dan Snyder is gone. We are ready for winning ways, man. So look, you come on in here and you can do your little chants and your little songs, Eagle fans, man. I'm trying to tell you, this is a whole new era in football in DC, man. And we're ready to win. And this group right here has a lot of potential.
Yeah, and just one thing before we do wrap it up, Kashmir Allen, that was actually the very first of my notes that I want to mention. Um, Very exciting to see him now. He didn't really, break a big return or anything like that, but just right away he looked like I don't know, just a more decisive kick returner than anything we've had lately. And I want to see I want to see what he does. I really feel like maybe we have found a good kick returner in Allen. And yeah, he didn't really do anything last night that wowed me, uh, but none of our kick returners have done anything to wow me in the past couple of seasons anyway. So Kashmir Island, I want to see. I think he has the potential that he could break one. He just seemed like he had that speed. Just needed the blockers. He did have, I think, one decent return, um, but let's keep an eye out on Allen and his kick returning because that's one area that we have always kind of, just kind of put somebody back there and it's just trial and error. Okay, let's just see. It's kick returner by committee. We're going to put this guy back here. Let's see what he can do. And we just haven't ever really seemed to solidify that position. So I'm hoping that this guy wins that position for us because we need a good kick returner. And a lot of times when it comes down to big games, decisive plays, it is special teams that wins games for you. And we need a good kick returner that's going to, take it back out to the 50, give you that short field. And we need that. We've had way too many times where we've had kick returners who will do like, you know, fair catches inside the 10. And I know that also on top of that, they're messing around with this new um, rule of You catch it inside the 25, automatically get it to the 25. I mean, it's to me that's Fisher Price, but again, I'm not playing the game at that level, but still, I just, I want somebody in that position, you know, that just goes to show you that every single position, every single aspect of a team can't be overlooked. Special teams cannot be overlooked. You're talking about the defense, aspects of the defense, how solid it is, certain aspects of the offense, and certainly things that we still need to look at on the offense. But we also need to talk about special teams as well, because special teams a lot of times can win or lose the game for you. And I think that that is not lost on Ron Rivera as well. And so he's, when it comes to kick returners, that could be a win or a loss for you. So I'm excited. I want to, when I saw that guy returning, I was like, there's something about this guy. I'm not going to say he's Brian Mitchell, but I'm just saying that I think that he might have potential. And maybe I'm just hopeful because I just haven't seen anybody return kicks for us that has surprised me or wowed me or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean Brian Mitchell, man, that dude could play some ball, man. That was a favorite of mine. I was thinking the last couple of years we might have to bring Antoine Randall back out here, man. But you know,
Yeah, or what was it? Banks, the little dude that went up
oh,
to the Canadian Football League.
yeah. I mean, he was solid, man. But
He was.
but
He
you can't
was.
at this point with special teams. There's only way to go is up because Dax Mill, man. I don't know why they kept trying to make him the guy. He just won the guy. So, like you said, he looks solid. Where we could finally find a guy who can make those gains, man, because it helps set the field up for the offense. So I'm with you. But I think we made it real tough on our offense the last couple of years because we didn't have a guy who can really get that yardage, man. We always found ourselves starting in the worst places on offense, man. And just when you have a quarterback, nothing against Heineke. I'm a big fan of Heineke. Shoot. I mean, I love his personality. I love his heart. We know what his limitations was arm. And it really got us in trouble. Especially when when we're in the bad field situations. So, yeah, I'm with you. If we could find a guy who can get that yardage for us and put our offense in a good starting point, I'm all for it.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I think it'll also help with our offense too, as the offensive line gels. You don't want your offense to continually be starting inside its own 20 because the defense is just going to pin its ears back and just going to make it even rough on you. So, if you're able to consistently start with really good field position, it's just going to help that offense even more. So, hopefully, Ron Rivera has a plan with that. Um, and let's see if we surprisingly come back in the next recap video of the next preseason game, and we're like, yes, guess what? We talked about this guy and he broke one. Can't believe it. I'm I've got faith, man. I'm a man of faith. So let's see what Mr. Allen can do for us. But anyway, let's wrap this one up. You got anything left? Oh, let me say this in English, man. You got anything left to say, Brandon?
No, sir. Definitely appreciate everybody watching, man. Definitely comment below. Let us know how we did, man.
Absolutely. Comment below. Let us know what you thought of the game last night when it finally started happening. Let us know your thoughts of what you liked, what you're concerned with. Are you also concerned with the offensive line? Were there certain players or certain other things that we didn't mention that you wanted to talk about as well? Let's have a conversation about that. All right, folks, I think that is going to do it for this episode. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for sticking with us. And again, if you are enjoying this channel, uh, please subscribe to the Washington Football Maniacs. Brandon and I will really appreciate that. And as always, hell to the Washington Commanders. Guys, we will see you in the next one. Peace.